We're here with pitching coach of Seton Hall, Pat Pinkman. Pat, appreciate you being on with us. So last night, as we were talking about, we saw that you were on a call with Alan Yeager. So when we had China on yesterday, we were kind of discussing different philosophies and throwing programs. Is there any specific philosophy that you try to preach to your pitchers at Seton Hall?
Yeah. First of all, it's great being on with you guys. I appreciate it. I think it's really cool what you guys are doing, trying to get, you know, really good information out to the guys as best you can. It's, it's basic, but it's detailed in the sense that one of the things I tell guys is there's not a right or wrong way to have a process like an arm care routine or a throwing progression, but there is a way for each guy. What I do is I kind of explicitly follow the Alan Jaeger long toss protocols, the build-up protocols. Like I spent a lot of time with him throughout the years at the ABCA convention, at the pitching hot stove. I've had some calls with him on the mental game. He's been a tremendous resource. And looking back on my career, I was not a guy that long tossed a ton, but I threw a ton. I played the outfield. I played first base. I'm left-handed, so I obviously was, a commodity on the mound, but I still could hit a little bit and play. And my arm never got sore, and I'd be, throwing the ball as hard as I could the next day after a 7-inning start, and my arm felt great. So I just did it. And then looking back on it, my velocity kind of got capped out. So had I done something where I maybe expanded my long toss ability back then, maybe I could have had a little bit of a bump. But in terms of the arm health component with the bands, we do the drive line protocols with the weighted balls. We don't do the underweight running guns, and for the primary reason being we're constantly in competition mode. I don't feel that our guys at a university, when they come into the fall, most of them need to be pitching and competing for a spot. Most of them are going to be relatively shut down, actively shut down through periods of the end of the fall, and then the winter, we're building right back up to be competing again in the spring. And then unless you're a 100-inning guy in the spring, you're going to pitch in the summer. So there have been guys, and I think moving forward, there will be more guys that I have that we shut down over the summer, and we do a program like that specifically. But we do a lot of the stuff for mechanical function. We do a lot of it for just general arm health. And then when you look at long toss, when you look at band work, when you look at the plyo care, when you look at the mobility routines that we've done, or that Mercedes Cunningham, our athletic trainer, tremendous job in terms of developing mobility routines for our guys. Our strength coach is very good at specializing, individualizing the weight room routines for guys if they need to. So when we combine all three facets of that, you end up getting guys that are going to develop velocity. I think it's important. I don't think it's the only thing. I think there's a reason why guys that have higher velocities end up having lower batting averages against. But when you have all of those components, you can't just slap up a piece of paper and say, guys, I want all 18 of you guys to be doing the same exact thing. So there is a way for each individual, and we have to find that out. And that's probably becoming the hardest part about being a pitching coach now, is trying to identify red flags, trying to identify ways in which guys really maybe they don't need mobility. Maybe they just need strength and stability. Maybe they move really well. All they need is a structured throwing program. And in high school, they didn't have that. Maybe they move terribly, and that's all they need is mobility. So when you look at that, it becomes, you start to put the pieces together the more you see your guys and the more you evaluate them, assess them routinely. So long-winded answer, but I I was injured as a player. I lost a portion of my career to injury. I had, a pretty good career early on in college. And as I worked at an academy for 9 years. And as I got into the academy world, I quickly realized that I could have an impact on preventing a player from possibly going through that same hardship. So that became my primary objective, is figuring out a way to keep kids healthy. And so that is my number one priority. If you're on the shelf, you can't help the team. So doesn't do us any good to have 15 pitchers if 5 of them are hurt. So that, to me, it's one of those things where there's no right or wrong way about going about it. There's, Ron Wolforth, NPA, there's BioPitch, there's Driveline, there's Cressy, there, you name it, RPP. Some things work better for certain guys, and you just got to find how best to guide them in that direction.
Right. Yeah, I know even for us with high school and middle school ball and stuff, every coach is kind of preaching something different. So when they come in with us, it's kind of, everything can't be exactly the same. So for us, it's the exact same way. And I coach at Caldwell University too. I'm the pitching coach there. And we get guys that come in and they're like, oh, all I do is throw weighted balls, or, I never really had a throwing program in high school. So the more
one of the things that I started asking our pitchers at our camps, because we do an arm care camp where I educate them on arm care protocols and basically how to use the stuff better. And a simple reverse throw that pretty much everybody does by now. You ask a pitcher to explain why you do a reverse throw, they can't tell you.
Right.
They can't tell you it's for the decelerator muscles. They don't know what it is. They don't know why that they're actually doing that. And I learned a long time ago, my dad really kind of pounded it into my head. Like, if you can't explain it in great detail, then you don't know it. So if you're just throwing stuff out there and kids are doing it, that's half the battle. But if they're not convicted in it and they don't know the exact reason why they're doing it, then it's not going to last. So I try to educate our guys as much as possible that this is what I believe will help you. If you need to go a different direction, then let's talk about it. Let's figure out what's best for you. Let's see if maybe throwing lighter balls is better for you, or holds is better, or, whatever it may be.
For sure. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great stuff. And that's so true. So many guys do things and they don't know why, or they don't know, what it's helping, or they don't do it correctly. They're just doing it to do it. And I think that's how a lot of guys get hurt, or they're just not even helping themselves. So that's great. All right. So also over the years, you've been a coach for a while. With the emergence of technology and science, especially for pitching, have you had to adapt or try to incorporate that in your programs? And was it a struggle at first? Did you get, did everyone buy into it right away, or was it something that it took time for people to really understand and accept?
So, like I said earlier, I spent 9 years running my own academy with my brother and my dad down in Virginia. And my dad started it when I was in high school, and he was one of the sort of initial people that really pushed technology and wanted to hold up that mirror in front of himself and say, do I really know what I'm talking about? So we were doing slow motion video analysis on the first lesson. We had a RevFire ball, which is basically a spin rate ball, back in 2005. We were doing vision with our hitters. We're doing vision training with our hitters. So ever since I was in high school, college, and then after in the academy world, I've always sort of been exposed to the high-end technology stuff. Whether we had it or not, I knew it was around. It was just a matter of cost, right? That's always the case. But so when I got into coaching, it became, what can I get my hands on, whether it's an app on my phone, whether it's an iPad video, or, I was constantly reaching out to the head coach saying, we need more. How can we get more? I think we need this. This is going to help our guys. And then it exploded. And we So when I was at Fordham, we got a Rapsodo unit, and we started playing around with it. We got it in the spring season, so it was kind of difficult to really wrap my brain around it, because the thing that is great about Rapsodo is it's very easy to use, but the bad part about it is you can only use it in a bullpen environment unless you're doing like in a cage, or now you can do it on the field live innings, but you risk, the unit getting banged up. So you're not getting full intent a lot of the time. You're not getting, the juice is flowing. So there are some drawbacks to that, but as soon as I started seeing what it could give us and how you could utilize it, it was like I have to learn how to use this better, because this is the future. This is what my dad was trying to get back with the Rev Fireball. It was just a cheaper version of it. So since I've been at Seton Hall, we've bought a hitting Rapsodo, a pitching Rapsodo. We now have a fully functioning biomechanics lab in our med school. So we've had, I think, about 10 guys up to our med school for that and have been evaluated with like the market systems. That's been an educational process.
I'm sure it's been educational for you too, right? Not just the guys.
100%, because that's not my specialty. I was a sociology major.
Right.
I don't have a degree in biomechanics, so I know a little bit about it. But if there's one thing I'm good at, it's, again, my dad sort of preached to me, a good coach is the greatest thief. So a lot of my stuff is not mine. It's Alan Jager's, or it's Kyle Bodie's, or, American Sports Medicine Institute. But I can grab a lot of that stuff and find different avenues to help our guys get better quicker. So with the Rapsodo, I saw an ability to see and say, this is what people are being evaluated on. How can I use it to better identify our pitcher strengths? We don't do a ton of pitch design with it yet. Again, we just got it last spring. We used it all fall. We got a lot of great information from it, and then we got cut short this season. So the other thing too is when you're dealing with high level guys, they have really good stuff. So at times you're just looking at, how good is his breaking ball at its best, and it's flattening out. Why? Let's get you on the Rapsodo. Let's try to get a little high intent on these pitches. Okay, it's 10 degrees off its axis. The spin is way down. Let's fix it, But, I've used the Motus sleeves. Anything and everything that I can do to expedite the improvement process, the assessment process, or the the overall sort of functionality of an athlete, the efficiency process, then I'm all for it. I don't think in today's world, in today's game, the players crave it. They just absolutely crave it. They know it's out there. You can't hide it from them. And I think it's here to stay. You're seeing. I mean, I talked to one of the Yankees Dominican pitching coach guys, and I said, have you done anything with biomechanics? And he said, oh, they're actually building their own lab in Tampa. And I said, oh, great. I was like, what kind of software are they using? They're making their own, because it's all proprietary, and they're trying to keep everything a secret. But that's where the money's going now. It's going to that development side, that technology side. So
for sure, and it's hard with all these kids on social media and everything, seeing other pitchers do this and that. So, like you said, it's almost impossible to hide anything from them, and they're asking you to use it.
Correct. And I heard something. Wayne Mazzoni from Sacred Heart. We were on a call yesterday, and he mentioned that one of his really big things that he does is he has pitchers work in the visitor bullpen for mechanical work. That's where they work on their spin. That's where they tinker. That's where they kind of go slow. They go, speed it up. They mix in short boxes, flat grounds. And he goes, the one on the home bullpen is where they go to war and they work on executing pitches. And I thought that's a great, even if I don't do that, we do use both bullpen mounds, but even if I don't do that, it's a great analogy of you have to separate instruction and, the other one I heard from Scott Brown and a lot of other pitching coaches have used it is, are you working over the rubber or are you working over the plate?
Right. Were you on the stick and ball the other day?
Yeah.
Yep. That was a good one. Yeah.
It was tremendous. And I think it's 100% the case. So you have to be able to communicate with your player, and your player has to buy into the fact that this is a time when we are not working on mechanics. We are working on you competing in the zone. The zone is down there, execute. And there's other times in the fall where, maybe he had 1 inning inter squad outing and it didn't go great. Looked like he was all discombobulated. He's rusty. Okay, we need to clean you up a little bit. We're working over the rubber right now. Let's really focus on your movement. Let's just drill down, get comfortable again. So that can be done with video. We start, as you can see, this is our, newly renovated stadium. Our bullpen is legit. I should start putting a picture up of our bullpen. We have 4 turf mounds and 2 dirt mounds.
Wow.
It's about 50 feet wide. It's basically like an outdoor academy. We were able to fix a camera so we could see arm slot better, and we could see pitch shape out of the hand and tunneling and everything. So that's a situation where you're working more on ball flight versus the mechanical side. Then we can go on the side view and look just purely mechanics and really drill down and say, hey, and then I can take it on the iPad or on my phone, and I've created I use an app called Trello, and it's a business app, but I can create a file for each guy. And then within like 2 minutes, I can open the app and grab that video and put it in their folder. They can look at it on their phone in 5 seconds.
Wow, that's awesome.
So it's a really great resource, and it's a great way to organize things for each guy. So I have Rapsoda reports in there for each guy. I have a mental game routines. I have mobility routines, anything specific with weightlifting. So even that on the technology side, if you give a player an excuse to lose a piece of paper, he's going to lose it.
For sure. Yep.
So, hey, are you evaluating your bullpens? No. Well, it's on your app, on your phone. You have your phone with you 24 hours a day. Why haven't you done it yet? It's not that important to you. Okay, I get it. Fine, next. Time to move on. But it's really, I think, I don't see an end in sight. There's really, really, really smart people out there that are working on this stuff, and I think it's only going to get better. So you gotta adapt a little bit. I try to blend as much as I can. I just turned 40 this year, so I'm no spring chicken, but I'm no, I like a little bit of the old school too. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the best things that we have going for us at Seton Hall right now is we do have a ton of quality resources that are based in technology, that are based in research and science, and we're trying to use that to better our guys as best we can.
That's awesome. So I kind of have a 2-part question. I'm going to kind of put 2 questions into one here. But so obviously with the current state of everything going on, it's kind of changed your recruiting landscape a little bit. So one is, how are you guys really focused on recruiting right now? And I know to kind of tie into that, I know it's getting younger and younger at the D1 level especially. So is that having any impact on recruiting at the younger ages as well?
I think so. For us, we're not we have 8 guys coming in this year. We had a bigger class. Our sophomore class is big because our senior class, my first year, was big, and a lot of guys left. A lot of guys got drafted early. Like Billy Lane was drafted. He had 2 years of eligibility left because he had a red shirt. So our freshman class this year was only like 6 guys. So we're not recruiting just numbers to kind of go through the turnstiles. We need that player to be an impact for us, and we need him to be a Seton Hall Pirate for 3 to 4 years. So the way that Coach Shepard has recruited, I think this year was the first year he made an offer to a player on the phone. Every other time, every other offer has been in person on campus. And it's because you have to, because they changed the rule where sophomores can't take an unofficial visit. So we're not basing our recruiting on just purely, freshmen and sophomores, but it is getting, right now it's very difficult for us to really, we can make phone calls and we can watch video, but really it hurts the kids because they're not going to be able to see the campus. They're not going to be able to meet us, walk around with us, see how we coach in a game, see how we coach a practice. A lot of local players will just come by and watch a practice. And we talk to them, we have a camp, they'd be able to work out with us. That, who knows when our next camp might be. So our initial sort of format of recruiting is still going to be based in establishing a relationship with the player and the family and making sure that he is a good fit for Seton Hall. There are those kind of, I hate to say it, but can't miss guys where you look at the body type, you look at the movement, you look at the pedigree, maybe the dad was an ex-big leaguer. He's already 6'2" and he's a freshman. Still has a little bit of filling out to do, but the kid's going to be a gamer in a few years. But ultimately, what you see now is you see guys getting decommitted because they're being committed as a freshman or a sophomore. They're not making the gains that the university thought they were, and they're just cutting them loose. So for us, it's got to be, a guy that we feel really good about, and it's not going to be something that we're just going to, I talked to a kid last fall, two falls ago, who committed, and the team had never seen him pitch in person. They just saw video. So I don't know that we can operate like that, but we're going to get our guys. We want guys that want Seton Hall, and there's plenty of them out there, and it's just a matter of finding the right ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being in those meetings at Stony Brook, and it's like a necessary evil. Everyone else is recruiting younger and younger, so you feel like you get left out if you don't. But we're walking around a kid who's on a JV team as a freshman, and we're like, what are we doing? So
the one thing that I'll say, and John, I don't mean to disrespect Stony Brook, but like, if Seton Hall commits 6 2023s this fall, is that gonna make us an Omaha team year in and year out? I don't think it does.
No,
I don't think
you don't know.
I don't think it changes Stony Brook, because to be honest with you, the 2023 guy that we're getting is very different than the 2023 guy that Vanderbilt's getting.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
So, if we're just recruiting a kid just to say we got a 2023 pitcher or a 2024 pitcher, then we're doing it for the wrong reasons. That kid's going to end up being unsatisfied with his decision in a couple years because a couple of his buddies are going to bigger schools, SEC, ACC, and he's going to be like, man, did I make a mistake? And he's going to last the fall. I just think we're going to be, we're going to get some high-level guys. We're going to get guys that need development, and we have to be a coaching staff that can do both. We have a really good class of freshmen this year. 2 years ago, it was, a pretty elite level class. We're going to have some guys drafted next year out of that junior class. But we also have guys that needed a ton of development on the back end, and we have to be able to kind of pull those guys along. And that's where we're going to make the difference. If we have 8 guys on the weekend and that's all we have that can throw for us, then we're not going to make a regional. If we have 12 solid arms, 15 solid arms that we can count on, when guys' arms are hanging, that's when we're going to be really good, and that's when we're going to make a run. So for us, I think it's again, we have to be who we are, and we've got to get guys that are going to want to fight and scratch and claw and be a part of something special. We only got to play one game on our new stadium, and so we're 1-0. But
there you go. You got that for a whole year now.
But you know, I'm obviously a little biased. It's one of the better facilities in the Northeast right now, at least the Jersey, you know, New York area, Pennsylvania area. So we're going to be, you know, looking for guys that want to take part in something special.
Sure, that's good stuff.
All right, so kind of with like piggybacking on how everything is right now and these unprecedented times, for your pitchers right now, what are you guys telling them to do? Like, what do you do you want them working out as much as possible? Some guys might not have accessibility to everything. And also I know the Cape just shut down today, not playing this summer. So do you kind of want guys to shut it down for a while and rest their arms? Do you want guys going all out? I mean, I know that for D1, the fall is a big competing area, you know, so
yeah.
What do you I know there's really no right answer maybe, but what are you kind of telling your guys?
Well, so immediately what I did is I told our guys just to hang loose.
Yeah.
You know, I think we got told on that Friday, March 13th, that our season was canceled. I emailed them later that week and I said, guys, we don't know what's going on. The season is canceled. So if you're planning on playing summer ball, June 1st is usually when it'll start up. I said, just take some time, spend some time with family, relax, decompress, take in what we're going through, and then start up April. Start up April 1. You still have like 10 weeks to build up for June 1st. And so now we had a couple guys that were going to the Cape. I didn't have a chance to talk to them today, but I'll probably say, hey, just take another, you know, they were about to start penning in May. So they'd have 4 weeks of pens before they got up to the Cape. I think we're just going to kind of, again, decompress, see if they have some options. You know, nothing, not sort of an exclusive shutdown, but just, you know, you don't have to long toss 300 feet every day. You don't have to throw bullpens 5 days a week to get ready. Let's see what we can do. If there's a league that's going to happen and you can get in there, then let's prepare for that. But yeah, for the most part, I think it's detrimental for guys to be, you know, even in the season. I've often thought this, that for certain guys, maybe they need a week off where they're just deloading their arm. They miss a start on purpose, a scheduled miss where it's just, you know, you're going to come out of the pen for an inning. It, you know, it gives you that sort of lull in the workload, but that's what they're going to have to go through now, unfortunately. A lot of our guys have been pretty creative. Some of them have built their own plyo walls. Some have ordered weightlifting equipment. They're fortunate enough to be able to buy that stuff. Some of them are using Home Depot buckets and sand, you know. So they're maintaining their strength as best they can, and they're keeping their arm active. And that's all I asked them. I said, guys, if you're not playing, just keep active with your arm. And then once we have a target date, we'll move forward. But so much of what I have the guys do, which is based on the Alan Jaeger model, is you have a target date and then you work backwards from that, building up, which is not rocket science, but I think it's really effective. And unfortunately, we're just in a situation where it's really difficult for them to have that target date. So we're just kind of stretching out a little bit, you know. Hey, you long toss 3 days a week. Good. Okay. Take this next week a little bit lighter. Only do it once. Stay active. And then we'll go back to twice a week and then bump up to 3. The other thing that I'm doing, we did a lot of really good mental skill sessions with Dr. Brian Price, who is the head of the Bacino Leadership School at Seton Hall. He's a former helicopter pilot in the Army, coached in Army, played in Army. He's a dude. And he met with our guys about 7 times between the fall and the spring. It was all based on mental game. We did it in classroom once a week for an hour. It was awesome. And so what I did is I was able to get the videos of his sessions that he's been doing with his boot camp. And I've been able to kind of, in the app that we use, put those in there so that those guys can have a reference, because there was a really strong parallel to being where your feet are and having a goal and visualization. And where we are right now, your mind can go, as I'm sure you guys have. I sit there sometimes and I'm like, is this really happening? Like, I get to a little bit of a dark place, you know?
Yeah.
But I made sure that I wanted those guys to have something that they could tap into for their mental health, so that they're not just sitting there going, what am I doing? Like, this is so like difficult. I can't, you know.
That's a great
And I
idea.
think that's truly important. Even so, imagine the anxiety that players have, that they go through and that affect them all the way from the major leagues all the way down to little league. And imagine now that anxiety is replaced with boredom. But not only boredom, they're not actually exercising the mind in the way that they need to recover from that anxiety. So it's almost like this huge gap where they can't get better at their deficiency. And I think it's going to be really critical for a lot of kids to kind of, again, sort of just touch base with that on a routine basis during the shutdown.
Yeah. When we were talking to China yesterday, he was saying the same thing. He goes, it's not easy to practice the mental game, but you realize when you don't practice it, how much you actually need it.
100. I mean, even as a coach, I find myself getting, frustrated, angry. Maybe it's just because my kids gave me a hard time getting them off to school and I'm in traffic, and then all of a sudden that snowballs. And I saw an awesome quote. It was from a guy in the big leagues who's a mental health guy for one of the Angels, I think, maybe. And it said, did you have a bad day, or did you just have a bad 5 minutes and you milked it all day? And if you're the biggest thing about the mental game is the awareness of where you are right now, where your feet are. It's not just about like be where your feet are. It's the awareness of where are your feet. So if you can be aware that, man, that was a bad half hour getting my kids off to school. If I just sit in my car for 2 minutes and take 7 to 10 deep breaths, I'm going to be okay. Like, I'm going to get through this. It's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah,
So
that's good stuff. So last question, we always ask, kind of wrap it up with the same thing, but if you had advice this is mostly for our high school guys or late middle school guys, but best advice for a pitcher, not just to be seen, but to be on the right path to go play at the next level, what would that be?
That's a good one. I mean, obviously video right now is more crucial than ever, but having something to send somebody. When I get an email and it just says, hey, coach, I'm interested in your program. I throw 82 and I'm a sophomore. I'm like, okay, like, I don't know what that looks like. But ideally, in my mind, and I think the one thing that you guys will obviously notice, and as you're going through this process, is every coach has a different thing and my big thing right now is I want to see guys respond. So I want to see a kid go out there and perform well. I don't want to see a kid fail. But I do kind of, in the back of my mind, am thinking, if this kid doesn't pitch well today, I'm okay with that, because then I get to see what he's made of. And if that kid shows poor body language just because he faces some adversity in the inning, then that's a huge deal for me. He's going to face a ton of adversity at the college level, and how they handle themselves in between when the bullets are firing, I think sometimes is really more important. Can give you a better sense of the mindset and the temperament of the kid. You can throw 90 miles an hour as a freshman, and that's going to get you a lot of looks. That's great. But if you are unable to really compete with that 90, and I don't like using that word compete because I think it ever got overused a little bit, but if you can't respond in the face of adversity and failure, that 90 miles an hour is useless. You can throw 102. There was a guy for the Nationals back in the day, I think his name was Rodriguez, I think, a closer. He threw like 98, 99 miles an hour, and he was terrible. And he couldn't handle that high leverage innings. So you go down to PBR, a kid comes out in the first inning, all over the place, walks guys, balls to the backstop. Okay. Talk to him on the phone. What'd you feel like was going on? He's like, man, all those radar guns, all those coaches, I've never had the spotlight on me. I didn't know how to handle it. Okay, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to change my preparation. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Great. Go to see him next time. Kid mows down people on a similar stage. Man, that kid's made of something. So it's not just the physical things are always going to be, does he move well? Does his arm work? Does he have that 1-2 pitch combo or more? But in terms of something that is impactful that maybe is really difficult to work on is that mindset and that ability to compete and just say, hey, I walked the guy. So what? Shortstop, you and me, we got a double play. Like I've seen kids not do that. And then the next play, ground ball back to them, they botch it, So it's an intricate answer for a little bit of a broader question, but I'm getting a lot of emails now. The first 3 weeks, I didn't hardly get any. And now it's like overload. And there's a lot of fluff out there, but really it's gotta be one of those things where you have to separate yourself. So if you can't separate yourself, find a way to do that and try to market that. And then obviously go to as many events as you can once we're able to find out where you sit. A lot of people say, oh man, all these camps are so expensive. Well, sometimes that investment is good to find out exactly where you are. Finding out point A on the map is more important than point B. I want to get a college scholarship. Okay. I'm not starting on my JV team as a sophomore. Like that's a big deal. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but there's a different route than the kid who's throwing 90 as a freshman. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even guys that are in our facility and they're like, I want to go be like Billy Lane or something like that. I'm like, well, how are you just on your team, or how are you in your county, or do you have schools looking at you yet? You need to kind of stay in the moment before you go try to get to the next step.
Right, and the Flat Ground app I think is an amazing resource, but if you're throwing 84 and you're a senior and you're 2020 and you're struggling for a place to look, now I can see how that's beneficial, right? Because we can't go see you, we can't do anything. But if we're under normal circumstances and you're 2020 and you're a pitcher that's already throwing 84 and you can just get guys out, you need to go to a camp at a school and dominate that camp. Like you need to separate yourself. You need to identify places that you think you want to go to or that are a good fit for you. And you need to show like you're going to want me after this is done. Kind of impose your will on the situation.
Yep. Great. Yeah. John, you got anything? That's good for me.
No, that was great stuff. We finished with 3 quick questions. Our younger guys love this portion. So,
oh, okay.
But before that, again, thank you so much. That was awesome. There was so much, again, with the mental side that, I love that you touched on it because so many kids don't think about it. They don't even understand until they're in that position. So I think that was great stuff. All right, so these are 3 questions. They could just be quick answers that our younger guys submitted. So from your playing days, do you have a favorite memory that sticks out to you?
Favorite memory. Not to sound full of myself, but I played for a lot of really good teams and we won a lot. So college, we won 2 championships. High school, I won a regional. Like I was always on the winning team. So winning the championship has always been my fondest memory. There's 2 sort of, attached. One is I got to stand on top of the bus at Virginia Tech after we won the championship with a cowboy hat on, holding the trophy up. And I got a picture of me with one of my best friends. Just went through the emergency exit. The bus driver was really cool with it. Climbed up, the fans were all standing there. And it was just like king of the world kind of moment. And that was, I was a sophomore in college. It was just like doing whatever I wanted to do. That was within the realm of, and then the other thing that was sort of more of a special moment was it the All-Star? I think I got to start the All-Star game at the Cape Cod in the Cape Cod League.
Yeah.
And so the All-Star team got announced at Fenway Park on the field, and my parents were there, my grandparents were there, and never got to play pro baseball. Never got drafted, never played a day of minor league baseball. So that moment for my family was extremely gratifying for me, because it was sort of all the years of, my mom driving me, my dad coaching me, my stepmom, my brother playing catch with me, all that, the combination of the hard work and the blood, sweat, and tears that they had put in. I was standing on the first baseline where Nomar Garcia-Parra was about to run down, and Pedro Martinez was pitching later that night. And I was like, if this is the closest I get, then this is pretty awesome. My name's up on the Jumbotron. So that was kind of one of the more rewarding moments. Being up there in the 99 All-Star game, watching Pedro pitch was kind of cool too. But yeah, so those are probably two of the ones that stick out the most.
All right. Awesome. If anyone, they don't have to be famous, but was there any hitter that sticks out in your mind that was the hardest you ever faced, whether they were just from your college days or someone who took off and became a big name?
That's a good one. Yeah, in that All-Star game that I started, Mark Teixeira hit a 3-2 changeup opposite field, hit the scoreboard at Wareham Gateman Field. And Chase Utley, I also pitched against. Well, he was a lefty, and I kind of did well against him. But, yeah, I mean, Teixeira, I only faced him, I think, twice. I think he went 2 for 2 off me and hit a home run. So he's the most well-known. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr. used to always say he couldn't really tell you who was pitching in the at-bat the next day or 2 days later, a week later, a month later. He's like, yeah, I don't know who was pitching. I had such ADD where I was just kind of like focusing on the gloves. So like I knew a couple hitters that were big in the lineup and, to be careful of, but I couldn't tell you how well I did against them or how poor I did against them. But I do remember I saw Mark Teixeira at a concert years later, and I was just like, hey, man, he goes, hey, so we got to talking about it. But that was one of the –
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That is an awesome story. And last one we'll finish up on. For you, what is the best part of being a Division I pitching coach?
The best part about being a Division I pitching coach? The meal money. No.
I like it. Yeah,
yeah, there you go.
No, the subs, all you can eat subs, right?
Yeah. In between.
No, to me, I kind of figured this out when I was coaching in the academy, and it's, I had such a hard time with my injury, and I was a terrible student in college. I actually ended up I had to sit out a semester, and I didn't get my degree until 2013. I stopped playing baseball in 2002. So kind of having the slightest bit of influence or guidance to a player where like, hey man, I was doing the exact same thing you are doing right now and it didn't work out. Maybe I could be a cautionary tale to some guys and help some guys, go down the better path. It's ultimately rewarding when, people always say, the coaching is about relationships. And I agree 100%, but those relationships are built because you are affecting change in that player, whether it's on the field or off the field. And I've never met a kid who's like, man, I really love that coach, but he's a terrible coach. So I know that there are guys that probably think I was a terrible coach, and I know there are guys that think I was a great coach. But the bottom line is, I did something in my life, and now I get to kind of help shape how other guys go through that journey. And I think that's really cool doing it through the avenue of baseball. There's not many other professions where you get to really do that, where you can kind of say, you know, I've learned from my mistakes. This is a game that we're playing, and, you know, maybe I can help you. And if this doesn't work, maybe let's try something else. Like, let's figure it out together. And I think that ultimately is where I want to be as a coach when it's all said and done, is, you know, I helped guys go down that road. Because there are some, and John, you know this, being a Stony Brook, there are some days when you're a coach that are just not fun. You know, 100 degrees, 7th game of the day. You're just, you know, it beats, you know, doing somebody else's taxes, but it's a fun job and it's a great job. But ultimately, you're doing it because you want to help guys achieve a goal, whether it's graduate. We've had students at Seton Hall come in, not really good students, and they left with like Dean's List GPA, you know. So that's more impactful than, you know, any other career I could think of. So when, you know, to me, it's the ultimate reward when that kind of stuff happens. So I'd say just having that sort of mirror, you know, you have two different sides of the coin.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Pat. Thank you for taking the time to do this with us.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for asking me. Really appreciate you guys having me on.